Over 1 million public sector employees, including teachers, could soon be facing a legislated wage cap. I'm Cristina Howorun at Queen's Park, and earlier this year, Treasury Board President Peter Bethlenfalvy introduced Bill 124, a bill that would actually legislate wage increases for unionized and non-unionized public servants at 1%. Now, if this bill passes, which could happen as early as this week, unions are saying they're going to be taking the government to court, and that could be costly.
Bill 124 violates the Constitution, something that we all as Canadians hold dear, and so of course we'll bring a challenge against this legislation.
The bill would impact about 1.2 million employees, including those who work directly for the government and those who work in the public sector, places like hospitals, schools, and even LCBO stores.
When other governments have tried to impose wage caps like this, they run into so many difficulties, and it's going to end up in the courts, and it's probably going to be overturned, and it's going to cost everyone a whole lot more money in the end.
In 2012, the McGuinty government passed the Putting Students First Act, which barred teachers from striking and imposed wage caps. That law was eventually declared unconstitutional by the Ontario Superior Court of Justice back in 2016.
This government wants to fashion itself as being very different from the previous government. But the previous government interfered in free collective bargaining with Bill 115. We challenged them along with other unions, and the courts agreed with us that that offended the Charter, just as they will agree with us that Bill 124 offends the Charter.
The legislation was introduced in an effort to help tackle the province's multi-billion-dollar deficit. And while not yet passed, it has already started to leave a mark. For example, CUPE's 55,000 education workers recently accepted a deal with only a 1% raise.
Bill 124 remains legislation before the House. It is an aspirational target we seek to negotiate voluntarily at every table. We did it with CUPE. There's now precedent.
Teacher unions have expressed their displeasure with the bill and the obstacles it creates when entering bargaining, particularly as the cap is below the rate of inflation. But Lecce says it makes sense to invest more in the classroom than salaries.
We made clear that we believe 1% at a cost to the taxpayer of in and around $700 million across all teacher tables or all federations is prudent. Given that my bias, if we're going to put more money into systems, for example, the 2% that's sought by some unions, $1.5 billion, that those additional monies or new monies could flow in the front of class.
Now, just minutes ago, we asked the education minister that if Bill 124 actually passes this week, if he would legally be in a position where he could offer teachers more than 1%. Now, he didn't really address the question, saying instead that the bill has still not been passed.